and welcome to the Everything and Anything in a Bit Gay podcast. I am your host, Zachary Randles Friedman, and today I'm really excited to bring on one of my best friends in the whole wide world, Mandy Osteen. Hi, Mandy. Welcome to the show.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me.
So me and Mandy, just a quick minute history of us. We met when we were in the 7th grade at a friend's birthday party. She was invited by a friend because she didn't even know the person having the birthday party. And we ended up going to some concert at Six Flags Atlantis in Miami. And then 2 years later, when we went to high school, we ended up meeting again and we fell in love with each other as friends.
I was going to say, long story short, he became obsessed.
I don't know about that, but sure, we'll go with that.
Okay.
And we've been best friends ever since, and we go on multiple vacations a year, and we've stayed in touch through the years. So we've been friends for over 40 years, which is kind of crazy. Well, right at 40 years, I guess.
A long
time. So today we are going to have a really fun show, and we're going to talk about a time whenever I was trying to set up my friend Mandy. Well, I've tried many times, but one time
which time?
But I took this into my own hands, letting her know that I was going to start a online dating account for her. And I think it was Tinder.
I believe so. I believe so.
So what I did is I set up an account on my phone, paid for it with my credit card, but I said I was her.
Tinder's free, I thought.
No, I had to pay like $30 or whatever it was for 1 month.
Oh, you went all out.
I went all out for you. And what happened is that I used her pictures. I created the profile. I think she helped me a little bit create the profile, but really I did what I thought a man would want, a straight man. And so my job was to go through and filter out all of these men that were coming to talk with her.
But tell them why, because he thinks my picker's completely wrong.
It is very wrong. I mean, every guy that she has picked in the last decade,
it's been a decade.
It's been about 2 decades, probably. I don't think I have loved. So, and now it's been a while. She's had a pretty big dry spell. So if I have any straight listeners that are males out there that have money, please send me a DM and I will go through the selection process and I will let you know if you've been picked. And your prize could be Mandy Osteen. So anyway, back to the story. So I went and I created this profile. I went through, and what I discovered right away is that the men in Alabama are not the best.
Which I've been trying to tell you for 2 decades.
And I'm not bashing Alabama, but the choices...
No, not all men are bad. Just the ones I mean.
I guess the choices that we found on this app
weren't
the best. Well, I mean, if you went on Tinder in Boston or New York, would you think you'd have that same selection of men?
Oh, no, definitely not.
So I went through and I'm weeding them out, and then some of them, that were really horrendous, I would send her saying, here's your guy, and I would go in and pretend I was her and I would talk to them. And this one guy, I don't even remember what his name is, we'll just call him Chuck. So Chuck was not, I don't know if you remember the guy that had this, I don't know, because I'm just making it. The guy that had this, he had the brim hat that was wasn't folded at all. And I sent it to you and your coworker at work, a picture of him. You're like, he thinks he's a gang member or something. Like, no, he's out. So this is the guy that you didn't talk to. So anyway, I'm going through.
It would have been you talking to him anyway.
Yeah, so I was talking to him. I was talking to a couple other guys. You know, there was nothing. Some guys tried to get sexual that I knew they were out, so they got deleted and blocked. And then a couple other guys seemed nice. One guy seemed kind of normal. He did something. I think I caught him that he was much older than he really was saying he was trying to catfish me in some ways. Not that I wasn't being a catfish myself, but I was doing it for a good reason. And so I ended up meeting a guy. I don't remember what his name is, and we probably will just not say it. Do you remember his name?
I don't even remember it.
I think his name might have been Rick. We're going to call him Rick.
Okay.
So
Better than
Rick.
Chuck.
Well, Chuck was the guy that we didn't like.
Oh, okay.
So Rick and I, or he thought he was talking to Mandy, we were talking back and forth and texting for a couple of days. And finally, he's like, let's meet. And I gave Mandy a little bit of indication about...
Yeah, because you wouldn't tell me right off the bat. You had to weed through them a little bit.
I definitely had to weed through them because there were lots of weirdos out there. So Rick and I, who he thought again I was Mandy, were talking, and he finally said, hey, I want to meet. Like, you seem great. I then sent his pictures over to Mandy, text them to her. She's like, oh, he's cute. Found out he has a job. He owns his own house. We did a little stalking about once we found out what his name was. We knew where he lived. We knew what kind of car he drove. Then we found out where he worked.
And this is where the story gets tricky.
This is where the story gets very tricky. Anyway, before we get to the tricky part of the story, this is what happened. Mandy, one morning I said, listen, this guy wants to meet you for breakfast. He works the night shift at his job. He's going to get off of work. Before you go to work, you're meeting him at this, I don't know where you met, a diner or something?
Waffle House.
Oh, you met at Waffle House, 7 in the morning.
No, it was like 5:30.
Oh, okay. Well, it was 5:30 in the morning. She got dressed before work, got all prettied up, and went there. They ended up having a fantastic breakfast. She really liked him. He seemed to really like her. It all went great. At the end of he paid for breakfast. I mean, it's like no expense was.
He was a gentleman.
He was a gentleman, but he was paying for Waffle House and everything. You found the right one. You knew.
He was, you know.
So where we end up is that they say goodbye. They want to see each other again. They talk about it a little bit in the parking lot. Mandy calls me afterwards, says, oh my God, like I really like him and stuff. However, here's the tricky part. He works where my ex-boyfriend works.
Yeah, I discovered that during breakfast and talking.
Yeah. And I don't think you said during the breakfast, like, oh, my ex.
No.
Scotty works there, and you did not tell him that.
No.
But most likely the guy, somehow you discover that he knew Scotty though.
Because he worked on the same side. There's like where they work there's a cold side and a hot side. It's a steel plant, something. So he works on the same side, the same shift. I was like, oh, he knows him. He definitely knows him.
So what happened was that Mandy and him were texting back and forth. They exchanged phone numbers. They started texting. I then kind of exited the situation. I thought I was going to. And then they were texting and making plans. And then all of a sudden,
he ghosted me. He just ghosted.
He ghosted her. He went to work the next day. That next day, Mandy, whenever he got off his shift, Mandy was going to work. I think you text him. You never heard back. And I'm like, oh, maybe he's just tired, or maybe he went home and went to bed after working a long night. Then we went into the next day, and still no word. So then me, as Mandy, goes back on that Tinder app and says, hey.
This is where it gets worse.
What's going on? And he responded on the app, but really didn't have much to say. And I don't remember exactly what I said to him. Do you?
You told him that you were acting as for me.
No, didn't you tell him that during breakfast?
No. I would have never told him that.
Okay, that's right. Okay, you're absolutely right. I said, hey, listen, I'm not really Mandy. I'm her friend, Zach, and I was going through and making sure that you were the right guy for her. I was kind of weeding out all the assholes, and so what happened? Why aren't you calling her?
I mean, he either got freaked out by that. I mean, I would assume that would kind of freak me out, be like, what? But what I didn't understand is going to breakfast, having a good breakfast, everything that was said, it was just weird. It was just weird. So to me, it was one or two things. Either he knew my ex and said, hey, I had this breakfast with this girl, Mandy, and it ghosted from there.
Yeah.
Or he was like, this bitch is crazy sending somebody to talk to me for
But he
her.
didn't know about me. You're right. He did not know about me, though. He ghosted you before I told him.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
So that's not the reason why he ghosted you. The reason he ghosted you is
true.
because I think it's your ex probably said, oh, no, that bitch crazy.
Oh, I'm 100%. I would 99.9% believe that was the case.
So, I don't even remember how it happened. I remember like after I'm like, let's try again. You're like, nope, I'm done.
Nope. Once I'm done, I'm done. That's why I don't do this internet dating stuff. You meet folks that are not who they say they are. I ain't about to get murdered going to meet somebody. No, ma'am.
You did it in public at Waffle House. No one's going to murder you in Waffle House.
Well, that I felt safe going because I was driving my own car. We were in a public place, but I don't trust nobody.
So I think at the end of this podcast, what I would like to do is try to convince you to let's try again, but maybe another app.
Yeah, definitely not Tinder.
Okay, well, what app would you want to try?
Well, I mean, maybe Tinder, but I don't pay for stuff, so I just
well, I'll do it again myself. I'll go through the whole thing, and then we can report back to the audience what happened. Maybe the guy that you're meant to be with is like sitting in one of these apps, Match.com or eHarmony. I don't know. We can even try Christian Mingle.
Farmers.com.
Farmers.com, whatever.
And we might do better in Alabama. I don't mean to, I'm just saying.
So I think that we should give it another chance, and then in 6 weeks come back and let our audience know if you have a ring or not.
I mean, I'm down.
Or a baby. Or if you're pregnant.
No, not a baby. No, definitely not a ring. I'll be lucky to get Waffle House.
Okay.
And a second date. Let's just focus on that.
All right, second date. Well, let's focus on the first one because I got to find this guy first. So.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So
well, you got 6 weeks, so you better get to it.
So 6 weeks. So let's just say we'll get this by mid-March. We'll put out an episode and let everybody know where you are in your dating life.
That sounds good to me. And also, let's let everybody know that you want me to find a man so you don't feel responsible for me.
Yeah, it would be nice to go on vacation and the man gives you money to come on vacation with me and I don't have to pay for everything. That would be amazing.
Well, that's why you got to look for the right one.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to want to see bank statements.
Okay. Now, don't scare them off now.
But I'm going to do a full investigation. Like I have a private investigator go in and make sure that he's not like crazy or a liar.
Background.
Yeah. So we're going to find him. I will say that whenever a few years after my father died, my mother was feeling very lonely and she thought she wanted a new boyfriend or something. And so I, thinking I'm going to be a matchmaker, decided I'm going to make my mom a Match.com account.
Oh, goodness.
So
Miss Becky.
did the same thing, but I let her kind of be in control of it a little bit. Then she was getting Catfish left and right.
Yeah, and I don't mean to down any dating web because I met my ex on there and we dated for 3 years. So I'm not trying to down it, but it's not been good for me.
But it was good for me. Me and Andrew met on America Online, and we're 25 years into our relationship, so it does work. And we have our friend Ari and Randy met on an app because I took the picture of him and put it on the app, and then he ended up getting a date with this woman, Randy, and the two of them are together still and have 2 children.
Yeah, I think that's how the majority of folks meet these days. And I understand that because I don't like to go out anymore. I don't like to go anywhere. I just feel like it's going to happen naturally. I'm going to be at a stop sign or at the gas station. But it hadn't happened.
Well, when my mom, when I did her app, she started getting catfished by like this one guy's like, oh, I'm a doctor and I live in Hawaii. I'd love to come to Illinois to see you. I'm like,
Right
why
there is a negative no. I'm not
Why
doing
is
no
a doctor
long-
living in Hawaii and wanting to date my mom, who was, 65 or
Yeah,
66
no.
at the time? So, yeah, most likely you're not real. I will tell you a successful story I have. I have a friend, I'm not going to say her name, but she lives in LA. I was living in New York City at the time, and she came to stay with us for the weekend.
Does she have Tourette's?
No, she doesn't have Tourette's. No. So I have a friend, and she came, and I always like taking all my friends' phones and swiping for them and stuff.
I know.
Yeah, and I do that with all my friends on their Grindr apps. I swipe and I send guys messages on their Grindr apps. But I took her phone and I'm going through, and I was saying kind of bawdy things to these guys on her behalf. She was sitting there. We were laughing about it because of the things that I was saying. And she ended up meeting this guy and ended up hooking up with him, and then went back to LA, ended up flying back to New York a few weeks later to see him again, and stayed with him. She then realized he's not all mentally there. There was some issue, and ended up not seeing him again. But I got 2 dates and another trip across the country for her.
She had a good time. That's the whole thing. You have a good time.
Yeah, she says it was the best. It was the great sex, and she had a great time, and it was exciting for the moment. So, my profession of being a matchmaker will happen one day. So
it will. And listen, it could happen right now. We could come back in 6 weeks, and I could be like, I met the love of my life.
And let me tell you the other thing that I really, really want to do. I really, really want to be, I was so close to doing this. It was going to happen in March. I have a friend, Brian, who was going to get married, and I was going to officiate the wedding. I was going to get my online license. I was going to do it all. But they ended up breaking up, and now I want to do somebody's wedding. I don't want to just make a speech at the wedding. I really want to do the wedding. So I think it'd be fun.
I'm down for that. Listen, if it happens, you will officiate the wedding.
Okay.
You have to come to it first.
And if you need the listeners out there,
Alabama.
I don't think I'm going to do that, but we'll
You
get
just
married.
want to do it by Skype?
No, you'll have to get married in another state. Like you'll have to this guy's going to be really rich. You're going to meet, and he's going to probably rent out some private island in the Caribbean.
Oh, well, that's different.
Yeah, and he's going to fly all your friends and family there, and yeah, it's going to be amazing.
I hope it happens. Everybody, let's pray.
If any of my listeners are looking for someone to officiate their wedding, please DM me on my Instagram, therealzachary.com. I'm happy to do it. If you are at a destination wedding outside of the Northeast, you just got to pay for my travel and my hotel.
And he has to bring his assistant, me.
And bring Mandy to it, and we will make your wedding really fun as I officiate it. Mandy will make a speech. Even if she doesn't know you, she'll make a speech.
I'll even do a dance.
Yeah, she'll do a dance and everything. So
choreographed the whole 9 yards.
Anyway, check back in 6 weeks, mid-March, let's say. We'll give you an update on Mandy's dating history, or not history, where she's at, her dating progression. And let's just hope that we find her husband.
Let's just start out by finding somebody.
Okay, somebody. She has a lot of, just one more thing before we wrap. She has a long list of things. He's got to be a certain age. He's got to be this and that, and there's a lot of requirements. So
I have a big. We are 50 years old. I feel like I've earned that right to be a little picky.
I have a big job in front of me over the next 6 weeks. I'm probably going to need to focus strictly on that. So
I'm going to need to recruit a whole team.
Possibly, yeah. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Thank you, Mandy, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Be sure to visit my website, everythingandanythingpodcast.com. Check out my latest episodes on all your favorite podcast platforms, and talk to you all in 6 weeks. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.